Hey there, YouTubers. It's me again in this channel where I explore certain themes, one of which is, you could say, cybernetics. So much happens in our experience that we don't willfully control, and thank God, right? Because there'd be too much to pay attention to all that. We seem to be individually more like a process in the operating system sense, each one of us, and we do things together, like build computer languages. There's intentional behavior, and then the results come as a result of working together. So there's a kind of thing that we do willfully and consciously with intent, but cannot accomplish really as just solo operators. We have to work together in certain ways. So I'm just drawing attention to phenomena in which we may feel we don't really have total control. And I'm saying it goes in two directions, towards what's automated in nature, you could say. And that's a juxtaposition of a technology word, automated, and nature. And we have a cultural thing about not doing that. We don't want to say the world is a machine. We say that's Newtonian. And there's a duality there in that, what about a kind of a machine that's not like that? It's like the one we have or something. And people just, it's obviously culturally you could do it, but, there's resistance. And I'm just interested in that duality. That was something Bucky was interested in with the virus, right? Because the virus, I'm talking about the individual virus, icosahedral shell in a way sometimes. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if we go to, let's just say virus icosahedron. So this is a good place for like Platonists to jump over to biology. And in general, the micro world turned out to be much more that world of forms that kind of the Greek imagination gave us. We then found in the small, right? Once microscopy had a chance, all that sort of amazing geometry of the ancient Greeks, they had no way of really knowing that that stuff does go on. It's just very, very small. It's a major discovery, I would say, over the long haul. So, yeah, if I just search on virus icosahedron, you get into this territory when I'm scrolling through here, right? So that's a good jump. And so where was I headed for? We were talking about, say, my viewing history here and the need for us to collaborate to make stuff happen. Now, I sometimes might be snoring through some of these. I have this, I called it a tablet, but it's a full-fledged Windows computer that can be, the keyboard can be detached. And I can just have this somewhere in a room playing through videos, and I may not remember them necessarily, but I have been noticing Tucker Carlson. He's asking good questions about, whose side do we have to be on when it comes to Russia versus Ukraine? It's like, how did we get sucked into fighting that war in our circuits, right? And so let's explore that a little bit. But where I've been is not in that hemisphere as much as diving into India, as I mentioned in prior video. What is RSS and what are Tulsi Gabbard's uh, friends like in the Hindu world? What is the Hindu world? Hindustan, right? And you'll remember my virtual planets approach, right? Like I went to the Parliament of World Religions in Cape Town in 1999, and I observed, people from each of the big religions and a lot of smaller religions. Scientology was there too, with booths and having kind of a religious fair, and everybody had their booth, and we all went to talks, and it was very good. And the spirit was one of getting along and how much we all had in common, regardless of religious differences and religious affiliation, so forth. So I've been in those heady spaces where people seem to just get along, but there were protesters outside, right? Some on some days. This was at the Technicon, I think it was called, just outside of major Cape Town, right? I wonder if that neighborhood looks like it does now. I mean, then. I bet it doesn't. I bet it's changed a lot. That was 1999. So I would say that if your idea of Hindustan is the whole planet, now how do we make it work, right? So you take the thing you're a citizen of that you willingly want to be part of. You say, this is my country, whatever that is. And it may be what I call a diaspora nation. It's not on any world map unless you draw it on there, and it may not have borders. It may be like grains of sand because it's more like a network. Because a lot of companies and so on, they don't consider themselves to be huge contiguous land masses with big borders and stuff. They go for more like nanoparticles and stuff. Like, again, each virus, you might say, is a little nation, a little country of its peers, and they are the bad enemy in some cases. They will destroy humanity if we don't fight them and so on. So there are these wars, literally, you could say, going on with the viruses. I'm back to H.G. Wells' country here with War of the Worlds, which is part of this curriculum. You're in something called Martian math here, which has a lot going on in the humanities because we're coming from a literature, American transcendentalism, where an approach to the Platonics emerges that is a little bit alien from what has been going before this. And because of that, I've taken Martian math to mean a cool way to sort of explore lambda calculus, as I call it. I explained that earlier. It's not being disloyal to the real lambda calculus, it's just expanding the reputation and encompassing more and doing more and getting the Alan Turing in general into it, right? And that's kind of what we're teaching here. There's programming, there's quadratic coordinates. So this is a channel where we're thinking about also religions and ethnicities and the ability of humans to take responsibility for the whole planet, whoever they are, and feel like this is my thing to solve here. And I might be RSS, I might be something else, right? Not everybody, you can't be, you want to be a supremacist in some way, and that you want to be a professional and proud of who you are and what you do. Like, I'm supremely good at what I do is not a bad use of supreme. But then we all think of the bigotry and all the bad reputation that goes with being any kind of supremacist, right? Put any color or anything in front of that, any nation. Supremacist is not a good thing to be. It's the opposite of what? Well trained as a diplomat or anthropologist or what? Psychologically mature. What is it that's the opposite of like ethnocentric? Just open minded. You know, there's all kinds of semantics we could explore here. And I think that's partly what synergetics does. It's a psychology, not just, it's not hiding that either. It's not posing as something other than its own discipline with its own name. Okay, just wanted to tie some of that together for you. I don't have any, final conclusions about these political movements, such as RSS. We've talked in the channel already about Gulen some. What else? The Qigong, or all the the Chinese Invisible War, I called it. We went back, go back a few, and I'm talking about the Epoch Times and all that stuff. In other words, this channel does explore sort of the intermeshing of ethnicities and clashes and patterns, really patterns. There's a pattern language involved here. In other words, it seems to be that you'll have a government that's either favorable or sees itself in opposition to some major psychological, you could say, movement, like a church or a cult or a temple. Are they anti you or pro you? Like, there's all this dynamics that goes on around what I'll call cults. But when you've heard me say, for me, a cult can be really, really big. Like the whole world could be just the human cult or something. Anyway, you can see from my history here that a lot of these I don't go very deep into because I don't understand Hindi. So if I find out I can't understand what anyone's saying, I might not stick around. So you'll see these in my history here, but I'm not fluent in Hindi by any means. All right, I do appreciate Sanskrit, and other such linguistic discussions would not be out of place, however. Talk to you soon.